My name is Nancy, and I have an older brother named Keith. He's 7 years older than me, and for most of my childhood, he was like a hero in my eyes. Keith was always the brilliant one, the one who topped his class, won awards, and made our parents beam with pride. He went to one of the best high schools in the country and later graduated from a prestigious university. Everyone, especially our parents, looked at him as someone destined for greatness. But something changed along the way. After finishing college and landing a good job, Keith decided to leave home. I still remember the day he moved out. As he stood by the door, suitcase in hand, he said something that stung. "I can't live this boring life anymore." He said it with a half smile, almost joking, but there was a sharpness in his voice. Our parents were stunned. I could see confusion and sadness on their faces. As for me, I felt a strange mix of anger and disappointment. I was never as smart as Keith, I didn't go to a top school, and I was never a star student, but I loved our home, our quiet routines, and the simple warmth that came from being together. Keith didn't seem to value that anymore. When we were younger, he used to be so kind to me. He helped me with homework, cheered me up when I was sad, and always stood up for me. I looked up to him, but by the time I was nearing high school graduation, he had changed. He started questioning everything, especially the importance of school and family. When I talked to him about my dreams of going to college, he brushed them off like they didn't matter, and when our parents asked him why he had become so distant, he blamed them. Still, I worked hard. I got into a national university, not the most prestigious, but it meant something to me. I even got a job at the company I had always dreamed of. It wasn't easy, but my parents stood by me the whole way. Their encouragement helped me become a kind and strong person. Meanwhile, Keith's life took a different turn. He got married, but never introduced his wife to us. Not once. It felt like he had cut himself off from our family completely. Then one day, while I was at work, my phone rang. It was my mother. She almost never called during office hours, so I knew something had to be wrong. I stepped outside to answer. Her voice was soft, too soft, and I immediately felt a pit in my stomach. "Your father, he's not well," she said. I didn't wait another minute. I told my boss what was happening, grabbed my bag, and rushed to the hospital. When I got there, my mother was in the waiting room, crying quietly. I sat beside her, panicked and confused. Just that morning, Dad had seemed fine. How could everything change so fast? "Mom, what happened?" I asked over and over. After a long pause, she finally said it. "Your father has cancer." Everything around me seemed to go silent. "It's stage 4, she whispered. "It spread to his bile duct. The doctors say it's difficult to remove." Tears streamed down her face. I felt helpless. I didn't know what to say, what to do. I asked about treatment, clinging to hope. Soon after, the doctor came and explained everything. The cancer had already spread to other organs. Surgery was too risky. Chemotherapy might help a little, but the chances weren't good. My mother and I held hands in that quiet, cold room, trying to process the news. The doctor told us that palliative care might be the most peaceful choice. I knew we had to involve Keith in this decision. No matter what had happened before, he was still our family. I asked my mom if she had contacted him. She nodded. I told him, but I could tell from her face that his response hadn't been good. Knowing Keith, I feared he would run from this, like he ran from everything that made him uncomfortable. I took out my phone and called him. He didn't answer. I called again, and again. After 10 tries, he finally picked up. "What do you want?" he snapped. I told him Dad was sick, seriously sick, and asked why he hadn't come. He didn't even sound surprised. "It's not like I can do anything," he said flatly. "Why make a big deal out of it? I'm busy." And then, he hung up. I stood there, staring at my phone, stunned. My heart hurt. I had expected coldness, but not this level of indifference. He didn't even pretend to care. When I returned to the waiting room, my mother looked at me, hoping for some kind of reassurance. I didn't want to hurt her more, so I just said, "He's busy." She let out a deep sigh. "It would have been nice if he was here," she whispered. My father spent his final days in the palliative care ward. A few months later, he passed away quietly, surrounded by my mother and me. I called Keith and told him the news. I gave him the details of the funeral and wake. He didn't come. He said he was too busy with work, that we could go ahead without him. Even my mother, who had always made excuses for him, seemed shocked. She had never imagined her son would skip his own father's funeral. Relatives and friends whispered about his absence. After the funeral, when things were quiet again, my mother sat beside me and murmured, "He really didn't come." I held her hand and looked her in the eyes. "Mom," I said gently, "let's stop worrying about Keith. He's made his choice. Let's remember Dad, and hold on to the good times." She gave my hand a squeeze and smiled faintly through her tears. "Thank you." The next day, something unexpected happened. Keith showed up. He came to our apartment without warning, but the face that greeted us at the door wasn't the calm, confident brother I used to know. His face looked pale. His usual cool expression was replaced with something else. Urgency. And fear. After our father passed away, I thought the hardest part was behind us. I had no idea what was still to come. One day, not long after the funeral, my older brother Keith barged into the apartment without even saying hello. His face was stiff and cold. "Where is the inheritance father left behind?" he demanded. I stared at him in shock. He hadn't even come to our father's funeral. Now he was suddenly here, asking about money. My heart ached with disbelief. "Are you serious?" I asked, my voice shaking. "You didn't even show up for the funeral, and now you're asking about inheritance?" Keith's eyes narrowed. "Kids should stay quiet," he snapped. The tension in the room was unbearable. My mother stepped in gently, trying to calm things down. She explained that apart from this apartment, there wasn't much left. She placed our father's passbook on the table and slowly flipped through the pages. Every last amount had already been moved to a different account. Keith frowned. "What is this all about?" Mother spoke quietly but firmly. "Your father asked me to transfer everything to my account before he passed. And this apartment, he wanted it to be in my name. It's already been changed." Keith was stunned. He clicked his tongue in annoyance and stormed out without another word. As we watched him leave, I felt a deep sense of gratitude toward my father. He had planned ahead to protect us. But just a few months later, life took another unexpected turn. My mother suddenly collapsed and had to be rushed to the hospital. We were terrified. At first, a small clinic told us it was just a cold, but something didn't feel right. We took her to a bigger hospital. After several tests, they gave us heartbreaking news. My mother had advanced pneumonia. The doctors said she had only about 3 months to live. I was crushed. How could this happen? She seemed so healthy just a few weeks ago. Not long after the 3 months passed, my mother quietly left this world. The house felt so empty without her. The silence, the stillness, it was painful. I blamed myself for not realizing how sick she was sooner. If only I had taken her to the hospital earlier. Even after hearing about her passing, Keith didn't come, not even to her funeral. My aunt, my mother's younger sister, and I took care of everything. I could tell how much it hurt my aunt to see that her own nephew didn't even come to say goodbye to his mother, but I wasn't surprised anymore. I had stopped expecting anything from Keith long ago. A few days after the funeral, my aunt and I were cleaning the house, sorting through Mom's things, when Keith suddenly showed up again, this time with his wife. It was our first time meeting her. Without any greeting, Keith said, "Where's Mom's inheritance? She must have left something." I couldn't believe my ears. My aunt stared at him in disbelief, but what shocked me even more was his wife. She didn't say hello, didn't look at us, just stood quietly behind Keith like we were strangers. I took a deep breath and said, "Can you at least visit Mom's grave first? She's your mother." Keith scoffed, "What's the point?" Then he went right back to asking about the inheritance. That was all he cared about. My aunt, who had always been calm and sweet, finally snapped. "Keith," she said sharply, "how can you say that? Nancy took care of everything, for both your father and mother. Can't you be grateful, even once?" Keith shrugged and said coldly, "It's none of your business, Auntie." His wife, who had been silent until then, suddenly smiled and spoke for the first time. "Nancy, right? You don't plan on keeping all the inheritance, do you? That wouldn't be fair. This apartment is perfect for us." I was stunned. "Why should I move out?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She twirled her finger like she was pointing out furniture. "This place is newly renovated, close to shops and the train station. We'll be moving in soon." My hands trembled with anger. "You're only here for the inheritance?" I shouted at Keith. "Is that all you care about?" He turned away and sighed like I was being unreasonable. "We'll be back in 3 days," he said. "Get your things ready and move out." Tears welled up in my eyes. I couldn't believe this was my own brother, but I knew I had to stay strong. As I wiped my tears, my aunt gently placed a letter in my hand. "Your mother gave this to me," she said softly. "She told me to give it to you if something ever happened." I opened the envelope with trembling hands. Inside was a handwritten letter from my mother. "To my dear Nancy, if you are reading this, it means I am no longer with you. I'm sorry for leaving so suddenly." Her words flowed with love and warmth. I couldn't stop the tears. She wrote about how proud she was of me, how I had grown into a kind and compassionate woman. She reminded me that knowledge is important, but having a warm heart is even more valuable. Then she revealed something that took my breath away. "Following your father's wishes, I quietly changed the apartment's name into yours. I'm sorry for using your seal without permission. Please don't be mad." I couldn't believe it. She had done it all to protect me. Inside the envelope, there was also a bankbook in my name, with a large amount saved inside. My inheritance, my future. A few days later, just like they had promised, Keith and his wife returned. They didn't even knock. "It's time," Keith said coldly. "Are you packed?" His wife chimed in. "Isn't it your duty to leave?" But this time, I was ready. "Actually," I said calmly, "this apartment is in my name now." They froze. Keith blinked. "What? I'm the eldest son, I should get the house." His wife looked furious. "You didn't tell me about this." I stood tall. "The house and everything else are in my name. There's nothing left to divide." Keith yelled, "Then give us half of what's in that account." I replied, "Why should I? This money was meant for my future. You looked down on me all my life, and now you want to take what our parents left me? No." Their faces turned red. They started arguing with each other right there. Apparently, Keith had been fired from his job, and they were struggling financially. This apartment was supposed to be their fresh start. But their hopes were gone. I stood my ground. "This is my home. If you cause any trouble, I'll call the police." They stormed out, angry and humiliated. I never saw them again. I deleted their numbers and started a new life, right here in this apartment filled with memories. Now, I live with someone who truly respects me. My partner and I plan to build a new life and a family here, filled with the same warmth and love my parents once gave me. And every time I look around this apartment, I feel their presence, watching over me, smiling,